and you're taking notes because she is an amazing dynamic speaker. And with that, I'd like to introduce Dr. Andrea Rogers, one of our beautiful favorite people in our community and in Heal Thyself. Dr. Andrea, thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you, Moselle, for such an awesome introduction. As usual, your check is in the mail. I appreciate you. Uh, um, my name is Dr. Andrea Rogers, and I am a certified naturopathic doctor. I have been certified since 2014. I went to the Michigan Institute of Natural Health, which is a private college here in the city, and I studied under master teacher Dr. Dawood Rahman. Um, and I have a small business where I work with clients that have a myriad of health issues. Because as a naturopath, what it is that I do is I help people with their health issues using spiritual counseling, natural herbal remedies, and plant-based whole food nutrition. And um, I met Moselle. Moselle and I have known each other almost 10 years now. Moselle's going on. And because of our love for Mother Earth and all that she gives us, she and I have been working together to educate people on the benefits of eating plants to help the body heal itself. Being a dynamic teacher, being an awesome organizer, I've learned a lot from Moselle, and I have a high esteem for her and respect. So I am honored to be here with all of you, and thank you for allowing me to share my information with you as well. I appreciate you. Um, so the topic tonight, oh, I'm sorry, I would be very um, I'd be in trouble with my people on the other side if I don't give my thanks to the divine most high creator of all things and those entities that truly love and care about me for having me here right now in this space with all of you. So I'm giving my gratitudes to all that is seen and unseen. Um, so our topic tonight is root cause and how that relates to health conditions. It's important to understand that when the body is in dis-ease, or as the medical community calls it, disease, when the body is in dis-ease, it is in dis-ease because the body is letting you know that something is out of balance. Symptoms of a particular disorder or dis-ease are, again, your body is getting your attention, saying, hey, I need your attention. Pay attention to me. Something's going on. Something ain't right. Disorders are similar to diseases. The body is out of order, right? So, disease, the body is not at ease. Disorder, the body is not in order. Therefore, the body will give you symptoms that there is disorder and disease within it. Aches and pains, shortness of breath, nausea, and a myriad of other symptoms that people experience. And the doctors categorize these symptoms in various ways depending upon where the majority of the symptoms are. That is how diseases and disorders are labeled, depending upon if it's the heart, it's heart disease, if it's, blood, you have blood disorders, etc., so on. However, there is a root cause to disease and disorder. There is a reason the body is out of ease. There is a reason the body is not in order. And while food is an important component to the body's healing, very, very important, because plant-based eating helps the body heal itself, and that is because the DNA in plants is similar to the DNA in the body. So our DNA structure is very similar to the DNA in plants, which is the reason why a plant-based whole food eating regimen helps the body heal itself from whatever it is that you've got going on. That's the reason, plants, our food, our medicinal food, right? That's the reason. So while that is a key component to one's health, we have to look at what's underneath that, right? What is the actual cause for the symptoms that you may be experiencing of why your body is not in ease or why your body is not in order? And root cause is the way that a naturopath gets to the bottom of what's really going on. There, we have to start with your lifestyle. Okay, we have to look at what is it that you're doing? What is it that you're feeling? What is it that you're experiencing? What is it that you're thinking in your mind? The mind, the soul, the mind, and body connection is at the foundation of why one's body is not at ease or out of order. The soul, the mind, and body connection are key to getting to what is the root cause of many health conditions. Why is the soul, the mind, and body connection so important? Well, because if your soul is not at ease, or if your soul is out of order, then your mind is also going to be out of order and not at ease. Your body, then, as the physical vessel, will manifest what is not at ease in your mind, what is out of order in your mind, what is not at ease in your soul, or what is out of order in your soul. Root cause goes to directly the soul, the mind, and body connection, and why that connection is not in order. So when we talk about root cause, we talk about the foundation of why there is dis-ease. We talk about the foundation of why there is disorder. So we start with, which is why at Trinity Divine Healing, spiritual counseling is really, really important, because we have to talk about, well, what's going on with the soul. 9 times out of 10, let me start this way. A naturopath, when we're in school, the very first day, we learn that 80% of illness is emotional and only 20% is physical. So it makes sense that as a naturopath, we go beyond the physical and we look at the soul, the mind, and body connection. We look at what's going on with the soul, because 80% of illness is emotional and only 20% is physical. So now, when we look at what's going on emotionally, we have to then ask, well, are you under any type of stress? What's stressing you? Stress is one of those components of life that you can't escape. Everybody is under some sort of stress. Most people don't even realize the stress that they're under. Most people accept stress as a part of life, which is fine because it is. It's just systemic stress, or stress that continues over and over and over and over, is not healthy. So at some point, you must address your stress in your life. And there is 3 types of stress. There is emotional stress, which is the biggest stress that affects the body and can cause the body to be out of order or not at ease. Then there's chemical stress, which is the stress that we can get from the pollutants in our air, because we have all sorts of chemicals that are in our air due to pollution. You can also get chemical stress from the environment, right? What's, in the grass, what's in the plants, right? So if you're eating foods that are laden with additives, preservatives, artificial flavors, and artificial colors, those are chemicals. Chemical stress comes from our environment and it comes from our food. That's stressor number 2. And then stressor number 3, of course, like I said, is our environment, air pollution. There are a myriad of chemicals in our air due to, factories, and due to factories putting chemicals in the water supply. So our body is bombarded with emotional stress, chemical stress, and environmental stress. The biggest stress that gets the body out of order and not at ease is emotional stress. Again, because 80% of illness is emotional and only 20% is physical. So, root cause deals with emotional stress specifically. Any of the three stressors can be a root cause. However, again, we look at emotional stress specifically because it's such a huge factor in why the physical body exhibits a myriad of symptoms when it is not in order and when it is not at ease. So this is where we start as naturopaths. We start at what's going on with you emotionally, because 9 times out of 10, what's going on with you emotionally is your root cause. So we look at, why is it that your emotional state at the moment is out of order? Why is it that you feel you're not at ease in your life? And that could be a myriad of issues or reasons as well. What we have found as naturopaths is that emotional stress often lends itself to trauma, specifically either childhood trauma or maybe even recent adult trauma. When trauma occurs, even if trauma is emotional, so we'll talk about that first, because there's 2 types of trauma. There's emotional trauma and there's physical trauma. We'll talk about the physical trauma first because it's not as broad, right? Physical trauma is very specific. Physical trauma comes from injury, right? And any type of injury, either self-induced injury because of an accident, or maybe because of a car accident, or you're riding your bike and maybe you fell, things like that. Physical injury causes trauma in the body as well. That can also be a root cause for a particular dis-ease or disorder. Now we're talking about emotional trauma. Because 80% of illness is emotional, 9 times out of 10, emotional trauma is at the core of the emotional stress. Emotional trauma, as I've stated, can come from one's childhood, or it can come as recent as an adult trauma, depending upon what's going on in that individual's life. When we experience trauma as humans, when we experience trauma, it becomes like a tie. We immediately associate our traumatic experience with a particular emotion. 9 times out of 10, it's either fear or anger. That trauma triggers us in a myriad of ways depending upon the trauma. So knowing what your emotional triggers are and managing them can help you manage your emotional stress a lot better than simply ignoring that the trauma occurred, or ignoring that you must have healing around that trauma because your body's calling for it. Symptoms do not appear out of nowhere. You hear people say, you know what, doc, I woke up with this shoulder pain and I just came out of nowhere. No, it may feel like it came out of nowhere simply because you woke up with it one morning. In actuality, the pain got your attention that particular day, but you've had the pain for quite some time. Pain just doesn't show up out of nowhere. Pain is always there. It might be mild at one moment, as sometimes, for instance, you may stub your toe. After a couple of minutes, you don't feel it anymore, but maybe a week or 2 later, you have that same painful feeling in your knee. Well, the trauma moved from the toe to the knee. That can happen. What one must do when pain occurs, either physical or emotional, there's a process that you must go through to remove the trauma from the body. I'll give you an example of how this relates. Arnica is an herb specifically for removing electrical disturbances that is caused by pain. That is arnica's function. It is an herb that helps to calm down bruising. It's an herb that helps to calm down inflammation when an area is swelling. And it is an area that helps to heal the electrical impulses that comes from the nerves when an injury has occurred, a physical injury specifically. Arnica removes all of that to heal the physical trauma that has occurred as a result of an injury or whatever the case may be. A healing process occurs the same way. However, you can't go through a healing process unless you first get to what the root cause is. So now that we understand the process of root cause, let's go into how root cause can practically be used to help heal what is out of order, what is the disorder, or what is out of ease, what is the dis-ease. When you identify your root cause is linked to emotional stress or chemical stress or environmental stress, you want to lessen your exposure to the stress or remove the stress altogether. When talking about emotional stress, again, we're talking about that trauma, again, be it physical or emotional. You must deal with the trauma, period. Nothing else. That's it. Be it the physical trauma or the emotional trauma. You must allow your body to go through the healing process so it can remove that trauma, be it physical or emotional. When we're talking about removing emotional trauma, most people get stuck here because people don't want to admit that they've had trauma, let alone go back and deal with whatever that trauma is. When you find yourself with a dis-ease or a disorder, the body is letting you know physically something ain't right. That's the reason I'm getting your attention. Something ain't right. When you trace that pain or when you trace those symptoms back to its original source, that's when you have to have a conversation with yourself. You must sit down with yourself and say, okay, what's really going on here? Why is this coming up? Where is this coming from? The way you have those conversations is through prayer and meditation and journaling. This is key to getting to the root of where those symptoms are actually coming from within you. This is how you deal with your emotional trauma. And this again is where most people get stuck because most people don't want to sit down with themselves. Most people don't want to take that mirror and hold it up and do that internal work. Yet I am here to tell you, with all of the beautiful information you're going to get from Roselle about how you must eat healthy and how you must detox what's going on, you again must deal with the emotional side of this as well. As you begin to detox physically, you may experience emotional upheavals within you as well, because you may begin to be opening up yourself to emotional traumas that you know you now must deal with. Because as the body cleanses physically, you can bet your bottom dollar your soul will begin to cleanse emotionally as well. All of this again goes back to root cause. When you begin to do that work to identify and then begin to heal the emotional trauma, your mind will then begin to find peace. Your mind will then begin to find forgiveness. Your mind will then begin to want to get rid of resentment and anger and bitterness because your soul is doing that work of healing. Your soul is beginning to bring in the love and the wisdom to heal whatever that trauma was. And so now you're not seeing life the same. Your perspective on the world begins to change. The foods that you're eating are alive with enzymes, and they're alive with minerals and vitamins, waking up the body physically because it begins to feel that same love and wisdom that's coming from the soul. So now the soul, the mind, and the body are working synergistically for your good to bring about a healing, to bring about ease where there was once dis-ease, bringing about order to where there was once disorder. This is a holistic approach to how health and wellness can benefit you, and how root cause is essential at identifying what is actually going on with the conditions in your body. Now, how does this relate again to the soul when we talk about root cause? Let me give you an example. When someone is complaining about high blood pressure to me, I must always ask them, what is it emotionally that you're holding on to that you refuse to let go? The reason I ask this question is because when the blood pressure begins to rise, nine times out of 10, it's because someone is internalizing their emotions, and they're either refusing to express them or they're refusing to acknowledge them. So they're internalizing them. Some people eat their emotions, not speaking on them at all. So they eat their emotions. That raises blood pressure also. Not expressing emotions, not talking about emotions, internalizing those emotions raises blood pressure also. So when one does not want to face their emotions, they don't want to talk about what's going on, they don't want to see what's going on, they don't want to hear what's going on emotionally, they internalize all of those emotions. Now, let me ask you all a question, and I want participation from all of you in answering this question. So please unmute yourselves. So I'm going to ask you all a question. What happens to a can of pop when you shake it up?
It's gonna explode.
It's going to explode if you do not what?
Wait for it to simmer back down.
Right, exactly. It's going to explode if you don't wait for it to settle down, or if you don't open that can up, right?
Right.
Right. If you don't open that up, that pop is going to explode everywhere, right?
Yes.
When that happens, that's exactly what occurs when someone has a stroke or when someone has a heart attack. Those emotions have built and spilt over to the point where they're exploding because they haven't in a healthy way managed their emotions. They haven't in a healthy way expressed their emotions. And sometimes they haven't in a healthy way healed the hurt that comes behind those emotions.
I have never heard that put that way, Dr. Rogers.
And it's very, very true. I mean, when you look at studies that have been done with patients who have a history of heart disease and they have a history of stroke, they can change their diet, they can exercise, yet they still have issues with getting their blood pressure under control, or they still have issues with arrhythmias and the like, right? 9 times out of 10, it's because those particular people haven't done the emotional therapy that goes along with the physical therapy to help heal the whole person and to get the soul, the mind, and the body back in synergistic working order. Because again, the soul is what helps to feed the mind. The mind is what tells the body what to do, and the body falls in line with the other two. So you see, the three can't work without each other, yet they are awesome independently, which means they're interdependent. They can work well on their own, but they work magnificently together and in sync with each other. That's why it's very, very important that you must get into a practice of sitting with yourself. So let me ask a question to everyone again, and please unmute yourselves. When you are feeling emotionally stressed or even physically stressed, what do you think is the very first thing that you should do?
Breathe.
Lie down.
Pray. Pray, yeah, pray.
I like those answers. I like those answers. So the way I'm going to put it is this. Before you even pray, you must breathe. You must breathe. And the reason I say it that way is because the ruh, the breath, is the spirit. It's the life that's in the body. So to truly get in sync with God, with Allah, with Buddha, with Jesus, whomever it is that you call your higher power, even before you make that connection, you must breathe life into the body so that the connection can be clear. The reason that's important, when you breathe and when you breathe deeply, you are actually physiologically telling the body that the stress you're experiencing, be it physical or be it emotional, is done. Let me explain that process. When you experience any type of stress, again, be it emotional, be it physical, be it environmental, be it chemical, whatever the stress is that you experience, when you breathe, you actually end the physiological process the body goes through when it experiences stress. The body physiologically takes blood from your inner body, the core here, and it actually takes that blood and disperses it to your legs, your hands, and your brain. That process is necessary so that you can either fight or run. That's the physiological process that the body goes through when it experiences stress, any type of stress. Blood goes from your internal body, the core here, to the legs, feet, and hands and arms, right? Again, so you can run or you can fight. If you do not breathe, if you do not tell the body that the stress is over, that is where systemic stress comes in. Your body's stressful reaction will continue. It'll continue in your sleep. It'll continue when you wake up. It'll continue when you lay down, unless you breathe to let the body know the stress is over and it's gone. Your body will hold on to that stress. The essential chemical, I'll put it that way, the essential chemical in the body that tells the body to run or fight is cortisol. Cortisol is essential for allowing you to know and have the energy to run or fight. Cortisol also, it increases adrenaline. Adrenaline is necessary again for you to either fight or run. When your cortisol and adrenaline levels are high because you're in a stress state, those levels will not taper off and they will not come down unless you breathe. When you deep breathe from the diaphragm, you're bringing oxygen into the blood. That oxygen circulates to the brain. The brain then says, okay, there's more oxygen here. I can calm down. Cortisol, go back to normal. Adrenaline, go back to normal. Your physiological response then allows the body to go back to normal, or stasis as it's called. That is the reason why it is essential to breathe when you find yourself in a stressful state. You must tell the body that stress is over. Then at that point, you pray, or you meditate, or you journal, or you talk. Because it's at that point when you've calmed down and you've told the brain that the stress is over, now wisdom can speak to you because now you're open to listen because you're calm. That's another reason to deep breathe. Okay? So along with being able to manage stress, be it emotional, chemical, environmental, or even physical, the biggest component of that is breathing. You must breathe. Otherwise, you're going to be like that can of pop and you going to pop, literally. And we're not trying to do all that. Unless that's, I mean, you know, y'all let me know. Does y'all want to pop out there? Y'all, is that what y'all want to do? I'm not hearing no no's. Y'all being awfully quiet.
No, no, definitely not.
Okay, okay. That's what I like to hear. Good, good. Exactly. So, unless anyone has any questions, that's all I have. So if anyone has any questions, please now ask. Now is the time to ask.
I'll ask. So you just mentioned about stress, breathe. So if it's stressful, like you said, good stress, like work, do you think exercise, like right after you do the breathing, would you say, just some stretching or some yoga, or what would you suggest if you have some good stress, like just a stressful day for work? What would you suggest?
I suggest definitely using the same practice. Yes. Even if the stress is good, you want to breathe. Because again, the body really, though your emotions are involved, physically, the body doesn't tell the difference, right? The body just simply sees you in a stressful situation. Now, what helps the situation is the fact that there are different chemicals released when you're happy, because you got your happy hormones that are released when you're happy. Then you've got other chemicals that are released when you're not happy, right? So that is a difference. But yet, physiologically, the body is still going to go in a fight or flight state. Breathing will help you calm down. But being happy is going to help dump all those happy chemicals into the body, which is a good thing. Yet you still want to breathe. You still want to do your deep breathing. When you find yourself in a stressful state, good stress is what you do when you exercise. So if you find yourself in a stressful state where you need to release some emotions, definitely hit that gym, or definitely go for that run, or definitely get on that bike, or definitely go for a walk, right? Because your physical exercise, along with your breathing, when you are feeling angry or stressed or anxious, these types of things are awesome for anxiety as well, will help calm you down. And it'll also help you to think clearly, because you're releasing those negative emotions that can lead you down some roads that you may not want to go down. Did
Thank
that
you.
answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is Cynthia Hall. I believe everything you're telling us is good information. It's probably something that has eclipsed my life, all my life. I've been writing, and I write because to not blow, have that top blow off. And I've been writing since I was 12 because I was raised in a home where I was not allowed to express my emotions. So writing was my outlet and has continued all of my life. And I've written some pretty good, I guess, deep stuff as a result of it. Some of it's angry, some of it's smart, some of it's nice, some of it's sweet, some of it's spiritual. But I do believe what you're saying. I like everything you've said.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing as well. I appreciate you sharing.
Well, Dr. Andrea, we can't thank you enough. Thank you so very much for